At 3:47 a.m. on the 28th of September, 2025, 15 seconds from now, a $10 million Russian Kasuka-4 electronic warfare unit will be wiped out. Designed to be invisible and perfectly defended, it wasn't supposed to fail. Yet the Russians didn't just allow it, they practically sent out an invitation, complete with GPS coordinates. All because of one foolish selfie. To grasp why a soldier made such a disastrous mistake, you must understand the arrogant bubble he lived in Kasuka-4 itself, a shield that could blind drones from 30 meters away. Guarding it was a Tor M2 air defense system, a mobile shotgun loaded with 16 missiles. Watching from 30,000 feet above was their guardian in the sky, a Beriev A-50 AWACS plane. They felt untouchable, so one of them posted the video. While Russians were busy collecting likes, Ukraine's 47th Brigade was collecting a target. Their cyber team didn't just find the clip, they dissected it. Hidden inside the metadata lay a digital kill switch, precise GPS coordinates within 50 feet. It was a death warrant signed by the victim himself. The stakes could not be higher. This convoy was the armored spearhead of a new Russian assault toward Kharkiv. If the strike failed, that spearhead would pierce Ukrainian lines. If it succeeded, the entire offensive would die before it began. How could a single selfie and a handful of hobby drones defeat a rolling fortress? Keep watching for the answer. At 3:30 a.m. local time, the attack began. 5 Banshee jet drones burst from a hidden truck, climbing to 500 feet and streaking across the border at 450 miles per hour. This was the bait. Their transponders mimicked the electronic signature of an F-16 squadron, a massive distraction to drag every Russian radar operator's gaze skyward. Meanwhile, the true assault crept below. 10 FPV drones lifted off silently, then dropped to 30 feet, hugging the earth. These were the real killers, already on mission. Thanks to that soldier's selfie, their computers carried more than coordinates, they held a visual fingerprint, the exact silhouette of the Kasuka-4 antenna. Even if Russian jamming scrambled GPS, the drones would switch to visual homing for the final kill. It was a clever safeguard born from Russian carelessness. 25 miles ahead, the Russians rolled forward, blind inside their bubble of false safety. But Ukraine's plan now faced its first test. The FPV swarm had to cross an unseen 2-mile kill zone where convoy troops with drone jammers could tear them from the sky before they closed in. At 3:32 a.m., the bait worked too well. On the Tor M2 air defense screen, the sky suddenly filled with what looked like a NATO air raid. The 5 Banshee decoys screamed toward them, and the system did what it was built to do: panic. 2 multi-million-dollar surface-to-air missiles shot into the night. They didn't need to be accurate. Their proximity fuses detonated, shredding 3 of the Banshee drones in a brilliant $10,000 fireworks show. But that explosion served as an alarm bell for the whole convoy. 50 conscripts on ATVs did what untrained soldiers do best: they panicked. They leapt from their vehicles, scattering into nearby tree lines and firing AK-74 seconds wildly into the empty sky, pure chaos revealing their positions. But 20 naval infantrymen reacted differently. These were professionals. As conscripts fled, the Marines deployed. They didn't grab rifles, they grabbed drone guns, invisible walls of static that severed control links. It doesn't shoot drones down, it scrambles their brains. The effect was instant. 2 low-flying FPVs lost connection, veered aimlessly, and crashed before backup systems could reboot. The swarm had drawn first blood, but by launching missiles and activating jammers, the Russians made a fatal error. In their panic, they broadcast the exact frequencies of their invincible air defense and EW systems to the entire Ukrainian army. Could the swarm survive long enough to use that data? At 3:33 a.m., the Russians had revealed their entire playbook. Those missile launches and jamming signals turned a short-term win into a looming disaster. In Kyiv, Lasser's group listened they'd captured the Tor M2 and drone gun frequencies. They had a specialist ready. One FPV in the swarm wasn't carrying explosives, it was a digital sniper, fitted with a miniature jammer tuned exactly to the frequencies the Russians had exposed. It fired a focused spike of electromagnetic noise straight into the Kasuka-4's receiver. The Russian operator's multi-million-dollar monitor went completely white, the tactical version of the blue screen of death. Blind, deaf, and helpless, he screamed into his radio. The convoy's digital brain was gone, and the rest of the swarm struck. 7 FPVs switched into silent run mode. They switched off their transmitters, vanishing from Russian detection. Now flying blind and silent, guided only by gyroscopes and preloaded satellite maps, they advanced on pure physics. Meanwhile, the panicked conscripts hiding among the trees had turned their cover into a perfect kill zone. 3 remaining FPVs were retasked instantly, splitting from the main swarm to hunt through the same tree lines where Russian troops had fired from. They had blinded the EW shield and evaded the ground defenses, but victory on the ground drew attention from above. The Berev A-50 AWACS plane circling at 30,000 feet was now fully awake. At 3:34 a.m., blinding the Kasuka-4 had been like kicking a hornet's nest, but the real danger wasn't below, it was above. The A-50's sensors could see in heat, detecting each drone's electric motor glowing against the cold night Earth. The A-50 acted as the quarterback of Russia's air defense. It didn't fire, it directed. Its computer instantly calculated the swarm's coordinates and transmitted a perfect kill solution straight to the Tor M2 system below. Rebooted and seeing through the A-50's eyes, the Tor launched again. Another multi-million-dollar missile streaked into the sky, this time not in panic but in precision, locked directly onto the swarm's heart. On the ground, elite naval infantry adapted fast. With their electronic shield gone, they switched to mobile active defense, mounting quad bikes and scattering into rapid teams. They raced in erratic patterns around the Kasuka-4, creating a chaotic moving shield, a swarm of humans protecting a crippled machine. It was the nightmare scenario. The drone operators now had exactly 8 seconds before the missile hit. Their target was surrounded by trained killers. One hesitation, and $500,000 worth of drones would vanish in smoke. But Ukraine had planned for this counterattack. They expected an AWACS-guided missile. The lead FPV drone wasn't carrying explosives, it was the Shepherd, programmed to die protecting the rest. As the missile roared closer, the Shepherd executed the final deception, the decoy dance. It unspooled a 100-foot fiber line carrying a cone-shaped decoy emitting a radar signal 100 times stronger than the swarm itself. Instantly, the missile switched targets. The Tor missile locked onto the massive radar echo, not the swarm. Seconds later, the sky erupted in a blinding explosion, the decoy and missile obliterating each other harmlessly miles away. With the sky clear again, the remaining FPVs turned their focus to the ground. Before they could destroy the brain, they had to eliminate the bodyguards. 4 drones peeled off like wolves, striking from the same tree lines the Russians had used. The assault was swift and ruthless. Within 30 seconds, 2 quad bike teams were destroyed, 6 elite Marines neutralized. The rest, seeing their comrades vaporized, fled. The electronic shield was gone. The human shield was broken. The convoy lay exposed, helpless. The 6 surviving FPVs turned together toward their prize, the $10 million Kasuka-4. At 3:36 a.m., with its defenders gone, the final order from Kyiv was one word: annihilate. The drones converged in perfect unison, forming a synchronized swarm locked onto their helpless target. The last thing the Russian operator saw on his rebooted screen was a live 1080p image from the lead drone racing toward him at 120 miles per hour. The drone wasn't just guided by GPS anymore, it was locked on using the visual fingerprint of the Kasuka-4 antenna. It was locked with under 3 feet of error. The 2-pound fragmentation warhead didn't just hit the truck, it punched through its thin metal wall. A spark followed, and the $10 million Kasuka-4, Russia's invisible shield, exploded like a 4th of July firework. But the true devastation wasn't the fire, it was the physics. The warhead's fuse had a 0.2-second delay, designed to detonate inside the truck's core. That meant the explosion didn't happen outside, but within, creating a confined 10,000 psi pressure wave that ripped everything apart. That pressure didn't just fry the Kasuka-4's delicate circuits, it crushed the Euro 4320 truck itself. The frame buckled like a tin can. Fuel tanks ruptured, spraying diesel across burning electronics. Shrapnel tore through fleeing conscripts and stunned the remaining infantry. It wasn't just the destruction of a machine, it was a perfectly engineered catastrophe. The electronic heart was gone, and now came paralysis. The surviving naval infantry grabbed their radios to call for help, only to hear silence. Their electronic shield was dead. With their communication cut, panic spread fast. The terrified conscripts dropped their weapons, surrendering in small, scattered groups. The entire convoy, once a proud, armored spearhead, was now a headless snake bleeding out on a dirt road deep inside Russia. Hours later, when the fires died down, A U.S. satellite passed overhead. Its images confirmed what Ukrainian drones had already seen: a 15-foot crater where a $10 million electronic warfare system once stood. The mission wasn't just a success, it was flawless execution. But the real impact wasn't measured in wreckage, it was in the chain reaction that followed. Without the Kasuka 4, the 12 tons 9-0 tanks and 20 BMP 3 seconds behind it were blind and exposed, sitting ducks for Ukrainian artillery. Fuel and ammo trucks froze, waiting for orders that never came. The entire supply line of the Kharkiv offensive was severed at its root. The second domino was logistics. The stalled column behind the destroyed convoy became a bottleneck. And the third was initiative. Within 48 hours, Ukrainian forces counterattacked along 3 fronts near the border. The Russian assault didn't just stall, it collapsed into retreat. Then came the most dangerous domino: suspicion. Inside Russian command, blame spread like poison. Officers turned on each other, hunting for the soldier who had posted the fatal video. A witch hunt began, and the once disciplined command structure crumbled into paranoia. It all began with one Russian soldier who wanted to be a social media star. With a single stupid selfie, he handed Ukraine the keys to his entire operation. For the cost of a few $1,000s in hobby drones, an entire offensive was dismantled and humiliated. And that proved one brutal truth of modern warfare: the winner isn't the one with the most expensive weapons, but the one who exploits the dumbest mistake the fastest.